So my first year in Nixa was purely virtual. I was hired to be a classroom teacher, and then COVID shut the world down. A year of just my class on the computer. So all day teaching kids to read over the computer. It was never boring. They would, run out and I would have to text their mom and be like, hey, could you go get them off the deck? So that was exciting, and I sent a lot of text messages that year using school status. I thrive on routine, and I think that the kids do too, and so that just helps us all kind of stay on track. But I also model being flexible, or I try to. It's just kind of all about like getting to know your kids and what works well with each group. This year has just been a really awesome one. It just kind of comes down to they know me and they know my expectations, and I know them and what works best for them throughout the day. Third quarter is like my favorite. This year is extra special because my daughter is just across the hall, and Mrs. Moon and I get to switch our babies all day. Whenever I was struggling at the beginning of my career, finding a balance, I would stay at school way too late, and so I was thinking, I might need to get out of this because I don't know if I can do it. One day I read this verse that said, some people are called to teach, and if you are, then teach. That verse and work as if you're working for the Lord. Those two verses have just been the reminder of why we're here, to have a servant heart, and so that's what I'm trying to do.
So I'm originally from Long Island, New York. So I was born in Queens, but we moved out later on to Eastern Long Island. Went to Evangel University, graduated there. So it's interesting, I was always into music, but I was never classically trained, right? So I didn't take piano lessons, didn't take voice lessons growing up. I was introduced to music when I was in third grade. A music teacher of mine gave me this classical music compilation CD because he said that I had some promise, which really took me back because I didn't realize I was decent. I played the viola, and I started really falling in love with it and falling in love with classical music. At the time, I don't know, New Kids on the Block was big, Puff Daddy, that's the music I knew. Then all of a sudden, my worldview changed because I was introduced to classical music, and that's when I really started falling in love with music. If you were to think of the least likely person to have success in education, in music education especially, you could make a very good case that it would be myself because of just the lack of knowledge that I had. One thing that gets me out of bed as far as teaching goes is knowing that there's someone out there that needs help, whether it's help academically, help emotionally. The content that I'm delivering to students, the content that Nixa teachers are delivering to students is going to help a lot of people. It's knowing that I have a role and a responsibility, and I think all educators do, to make that difference, to make that impact, to make that extra conversation happen, to make that phone call that's going to help out a student's life. And I just think about what teachers have done with me. A lot of people have reached out to me as a student, and I know any success I have in my life is a direct relationship to that.
I am the first one to graduate college from my family, and so teaching was never on my radar. I never even thought about being a teacher. I graduated high school and I was like, okay, I'm going to school, I'm gonna be an accountant. Because I loved accounting in high school. We played like a fun Monopoly game and we got to like log all our transactions, and it was like the greatest thing ever. And then I got to college and I was like, this is not what it actually is. I was like, gosh, what am I gonna do? And so I started subbing and waiting tables, and that's kind of like how I paid for school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, kids are funny. Like, kids are fun. And so I kept subbing and I was like, I think I want to be a teacher. And so here I am. I love coming to work and just like getting hugs and getting little bracelets made for me and little trinkets. And it's just, they're so cute. So I taught 4th grade. And so I gave them deodorant for Christmas. You would think even like from like 7-year-olds to 9-year-olds, not a big difference. Big difference. So I like them when they're cute and they're not as sassy and they don't smell as much. I just think back to like teachers I've had and like the ones that have made a huge impact on me, and it's always been the relationship that's mattered. I don't remember anything I learned in 8th grade. I remember everything my teacher did. And so he just made such an impact. And I think during that time of my life, it was very impactful. My parents were going through a divorce, and like he was that positive male role model that I needed in my life. These kids are in broken homes and they need a happy place here. I mean, I'm only 5 years, so like you see these veteran teachers that have been at it for longer than I've been alive, and it's like, wow, like you love this. Like it's worth it.
For a long time, I thought I was going to be a nurse and I was going to follow in my grandmother's footsteps, but I got to a few classes where I was like, nope, this is not for me. And I kind of knew I wanted to help, but I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. And I spent a lot of time kind of trying to figure that out. But I can remember like my 4th grade teacher is the first one that stands out for me. He was an amazing teacher. He loved letting us do like hands-on learning. That's where I loved science for the first time, and just started really realizing that school could be fun and that I could enjoy school. And then I had another one in 6th grade who kind of saw in me what I didn't see. We spend a lot of time in the mornings doing our circle up, and I like to do that because it just gives us 5 or 10 minutes a day where they can be themselves. Really building that time where, hey, we like each other and we can talk to each other. So I think by doing that, when I hold them to a higher, standards when we're doing actual classwork, they're a little more willing to put themselves out there because they've already built that tight, close relationship with each other and with me. And I think just instilling in them that I see something in them, they don't always see it, but I see it. And so I think just saying, hey, you can do it. You just got to get there. They'll say, but it's so hard. Yeah, it's hard. You can get there. Just look at it and take small steps and you'll be there. And the next thing you know, they're so excited, that they met their goal. And then I'm like, you're welcome. They love that about me. I'm always like, you're welcome. And then they stop and they think about it and they're like, yeah, you're right. You said I could do it all along. I want them to believe it, because me believing it isn't enough. And I think that, by building that relationship with them and setting those standards, they leave here, knowing that they can do anything they set their mind to, then I've probably done my job.